Randy here, Sean Salisbury, Eric Byrnes, master debaters, and holy shit, what a way to start the show. Juan Soto is going to the Padres, Byrnesy. What a move. Give me your thoughts on that.
I mean, I'm trying to digest it right now. The National League West just got interesting. Not to say that the Padres could not have competed with the Dodgers before the trade, but let me just say that again because I actually did not believe the Padres could compete with the Padres before the trade. And as a matter of fact, now it's anything's possible. He's that good. He is a juggernaut. He is the best young hitter in baseball. He is a complete and total fucking game changer. And Salisbury knows this because he watched him done in the Astros a couple years ago, and every single at bat, it's just like this guy just kept coming at you. He loves the big moment. He loves the big stage. This guy wins the home run derby like no problem. As you had, the young kid from Seattle, and of course Pete Alonso going at it, and yet here's Juan Soto quietly doing his thing. By all accounts, a great kid. We're talking about somebody that when he first got to the big leagues, FP Santangelo worked alongside him. He's like, dude, the coaching staff loves him. All his players love him. He was, in a lot of ways, let's put it this way, like the antithesis to Bryce Harper. Like Bryce came in, he ruffled feathers. And I like Bryce. I think Bryce probably had some growing up to do. Whereas Juan Soto came in, and I mean, quite frankly, you look at the numbers, he was better than Bryce. And now this is such a huge piece going to a playoff contending team. Complete and total fucking game changer, Sauls.
Yeah, Byrnes, you're not kidding. Grant, good morning to you guys. Listen, when you start to go through the big players who get it, and it'd be the equivalent in my mind of all of a sudden you waking up one day and having a playoff team, and then all of a sudden they say you got a really good team, you got a good quarterback, but Mahomes is available. Okay, you want him? Oh yeah, we want him. What's it going to take to get him? But we've already got in the process of that. We went out and got the best closing wide receiver in the league, Josh Hader. Tatis has started his rehab assignment, and we're going to get him back. And you're spending about $1 billion between 2.5 players. Machado's having an MVP type year. Goldschmidt, though, may have something to say about that. You load up and when you ask a team to go all in, tell me a time when you got the best closer, for sure on the left-handed side, the best closer and maybe in baseball, and you get if he's not the best, he ain't the fourth best young player in baseball. See, somewhere in there, if you like Tatis when he's healthy, or him, or Ronald Acuna, I mean, Soto's in the team picture, and now you get him. The Dodgers, the gap just got closed. I can assure you that. When's the last time we had somebody pull this off with possibly the two best players at their position at trade deadline and say, you want to talk about a commitment to go all in? Good gracious. And they've already got a good pitching staff. This is a frightening move, unbelievable move for a guy, as he said, as Byrnesy said, that by all accounts, a great kid. Yep. We know he's a great player. He's going to fit right in. He's going to love that place. He's going to love San Diego. They're going to embrace him. It's the only game in town, and it is huge, and you want to make a commitment. They are all in, and objects are closer than they appear by 2 moves in that side view mirror to the Dodgers, and that's Josh Hader, and that's Juan Soto. Look out. And you get him for 2.5 years before he's going to get about $500 million. The question is, are they going to redo his contract right away and extend him, or wait for arbitration? What a bargain he is right now. Good gracious, it's stealing. So, yeah, the Padres they were already relevant. Now they've become the odds-on favorite with those two guys, I believe, to be the National League representative. And how can you not say they're the favorite to win the World Series, considering?
Because, in my opinion,
pitching,
like you got to dethrone the Dodgers, right? Like the Dodgers,
for what they've done. Yeah,
this is a playoff team. There's no question about it. This is a playoff. They also just signed Joe Musgrove long-term too. So, I mean, this team is coming at you. I'm looking at the numbers right here for Soto. He has 91 walks this year. He's hitting 246 with a 408 on-base percentage. Just an 894 OPS, and he's doing it on a shitball team.
And he's not having his best year. and he's
No.
still doing that. He's not having his
No.
best year. So while the Dodgers will be favored, the Astros got better. The Yankees got better with Montas. This is going to be one hell of a run here, Grant and Burnsy. And you look at those numbers. And Hader's going to get lost in all this.
Yeah.
Gosh dang, you get close. That guy's got a chance to close it out for you at the end. So it's going to be a hell of a run.
In the American League, which team helped themselves more, the Astros or the Yankees?
Well, I'll tell you this from me. Now, I know the Yankees help themselves because they need pitching like that.
Yes.
But you take a look at James Click so far, and I'm not sure they're done yet, has added what they needed at 3 different positions and really a 4th. I'm going to tell you why. One is Maldonado, while not a great hitter, had a hell of a hitting month of July. But there's nobody better other than maybe Yachty that handles pitching staffs better. And he's been a quiet – now, we know who the MVP on the Astros is. It is no doubt Yordan Alvarez. But in a quiet way, and we've talked about it in this city, that you could actually say with the way he's handled this pitching staff that Maldonado deserves MVP votes on that team because they are massive on the pitching staff because their hitting's not been great this year. So they get a backup catcher to him to spell him, and Vasquez, who's got World Series experience, is a 8-year veteran, is a homegrown guy in Boston, and you get a guy with pop from the right side in a batting order. There's that.
Yep.
Then you get you go get Will Smith, who's struggling this year, but was World Series big time last year, World Series experience. They needed a lefty in the bullpen that Dusty wanted, and somehow, some way, when you become an Astro, pitchers just get better. And you got rid of Odorizzi, who did a nice job and created value for himself this year, but quite frankly was not going to be a postseason starter for them. He just wasn't. He's a great for the 6-man rotation, but he was expendable because he created value, and they get a lefty in the bullpen. Then you get Trey Mancini. His story enough is enough to love. You got overcoming cancer and what he's done in Baltimore, and to be able to get first base where Yuli Gurriel struggled with the bat, the reigning batting champion in the American League, but has done better since he's been in the 2-hole. But you get versatility, and with Brantley hurt and not wanting to play Yordan in left field on a regular basis, you get a guy in Mancini who can play left field as well. Right-handed power that he can pound the Crawford boxes. Every single need they've had to answer to, they've answered to. Catcher with depth, first base with depth, left field with depth, and a left-hander in the bullpen. And while Montas gives them some really good stuff, it's close. But so far, because of the number of bodies and needs, I'm going to say the Astros got a little bit better at the trade deadline so far than the Yankees.
Yeah, I'm looking at this here. They're saying the Dodgers Soto, but they have a backup plan. I mean, obviously Soto's not happening. They're saying that they're checking on Ian Happ. The Dodgers, guys, I'm watching them last night, and it literally was like watching one Hall of Famer come up after another. That team is stacked. And then here's a great story. So I get a text yesterday from a buddy of mine, Vince Sikowski, played baseball at Stanford, was a mentor of mine, coming up all through the minor leagues and in Oakland and everything. And so VSAC sends me this text, and he goes, "Yo, dude," and it was a picture of James Outman, who just got called up to the big leagues. And it was a picture of him when he was a kid. And underneath it, it said nickname, Burnsy. And he goes, "Yo, dude, this kid, his favorite player was you. Made his big league debut yesterday, went 3 for 4.
Holy
and
shit.
then
Homered too. Yeah.
Homered in his first at bat. Bro, that swing fucking plays, man. Have you seen his swing? Like, that's legit.
What
So
a shock. What a shock. The Dodgers call a guy up and he's a good player. What a friggin' shock. Every single year, right?
It is unbelievable. Burnsy, that's fucking
awesome.
incredible.
Hey. I've never had anybody that say they were called up to play quarterback that said that I was their hero and favorite player. So Burnsy, I got you.
I love it. Hey, you know what, guys? You know, we talk about the American League with what Sean was just saying. Do you know that in all of the games, the 2 series that the Yankees and Astros have played this year, which the Astros dominated, do you know the fucking Yankees only had the lead in 2 innings of all of those games? Think about that for a minute.
And very well aware. You're used to it.
But Sean, think about this.
Yes.
I agree with you. The Astros just got a little bit better, more so than the Yankees. I still think, and again, I'm a diehard Yankee fan. I don't want to say I would be shocked. I would be very surprised if these two teams meet in October and the Yankees beat the Astros. I don't see it. I think the Astros are a better team top to bottom.
I think the Astros are the best team in the American League right now. They don't strike out as much. They added to it. They're pitching. Guys, let me just take a sidebar for this, what Verlander's doing right now. This is a 9-year-old coming off, missed the COVID year and misses because of, obviously, his Tommy John. And we're no longer referring to him, man, what he's doing for a almost 40-year-old. You know what we're referring to? He's pitching as good as he did when he's 25. Now, he may not have the swing and miss dominant 12 strikeouts a game type of thing, 10 strikeouts a game. His ERA is under 2. Yeah. I mean, he is going to win the Cy Young in the American League if this continues.
Bro, he's Nolan fucking Ryan, man.
Yes.
I just watched that documentary, Facing Nolan. If you guys haven't seen it, watch it. But he's Nolan Ryan. He's getting better with age.
You know who else he is? And remember Randy Johnson's season in, was it 2004 at 40? Go look at those. It's like this dude, and I never thought he could do this again. I mean, where it's like good, yes, but where you're the number one on the staff and going to win a Cy Young. We joked about it during spring training saying, yeah, go ahead and pick him. You'll get long odds. You really don't have much of a shot because you're going to watch his innings and his pitches. What? And so, I'm with you. The National League's going to be a hell of a race. The Cardinals aren't going to go away. We know Atlanta's going to stay in it. The Padres and the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, you're right, Burnsy. They're phenomenal. And you know what? Another name to keep an eye on. If it's not for them, somebody else. Will the Pirates be willing to give up Brian Reynolds for a semi-haul? Because he's a talented player as well. Yep. So you got him. And I'm anxious to see because the truth is the Astros would like another outfielder because their center field position is weak. Jake Myers is not hitting. They've got guys that can platoon well, but they need an everyday guy. Whether they think it's worth giving up somebody like Urquidy for him, we'll see. But I'm with you, Grant. I think the Astros, and as a Red Sox guy, you as a Yankee guy, the Astros relentless at the plate. Mancini gives them death. Vasquez gives them death. And you can replace Maldonado in late innings and get a right-handed pop in the bat with Vasquez.
They put the ball in play, man. They fucking put the ball in play.
That's right, all the time. Right. And they draw walks. They're selective. Bregman, every single game works it. They'll go the other way. Until somebody proves otherwise to me, I think they're the best team in the American League as well. And this is without Brantley, and nobody knows when he's coming back. So that means Mancini's going to have to spend some time in left field, and this is going to be a hell of a race. But the Dodgers, while great, Padres decided they needed to close that gap a little bit with Soto and with Hader.
A couple of things here, guys. So Josh Bell, I mean, let's not look past him. This season, 301 batting average, 384 on base, 493 slugging. That's an 877 OPS. This guy's playing his best baseball. I mean, it's then the last thing I want to get out there on before we close the James Outman book for today's show. James Outman, I saw a tweet from Patrick Walsh, the head coach of Sarah, who has just a phenomenal football program now. It's obviously where Tom Brady went, Lynn Swann went, and a guy by the name of Barry Bonds went there as well. That's where Outman went to school. And Patrick Walsh was saying that Outman was one of the best linebackers that's ever put on a Sarah Padre uniform, which just fires me up even more about the fucking kid.
Right, no doubt. And you know what? And you hit it right, Burnsy. On my show, I had to drive like an hour to get home. But on my show, the talk that was heating up with Josh Bell and Soto both going to the Padres. And we're sitting here talking about Hader and Soto and leaving out the fact that Josh Bell, who the Astros were heavy in on, Grant and Burnsy, heavy in on. And now you get a guy that they've wanted to move there for Hosmer right? So this gives them a power hitting, great clubhouse guy that also hits from both sides of the plate.
Yeah.
You find go back and I don't know, find me, like I said, that you got 3 better players at a trade deadline that are all going to contribute and give them they've closed the gap, man. And the Dodgers, though, like I said, they just keep restocking. We are in for one hell of a run. Health and pitching will be the one that decides it in both leagues. But I'm going to tell you, man, at the plate and at the closing, San Diego Padres said, "Screw this, we are closing it." We can't forget Josh Bell, but I damn near did.
Well, is he going to play? Why? Okay, then you now have the DH in the National League. But I was going to say, because you have Hosmer too.
That's right. So the question, and remember during the offseason, they spent a lot of time over the last year. Hosmer's been the talk of moving. But that's another thing that comes into play. Can you play him? You keep one at first base, the other DHs. It is, put it this way, it's a good problem to have. And I know they've tried to move Hosmer, and he doesn't want to. But the question is, will they, or do they just say, let's go? But their payroll now, and once you pay Soto, it's going to be fun to watch how they deal with with 3 players making over $1 billion.
Guys, also some breaking news. I'm going to switch to the NFL for a moment. The NFL has just taken away a 2023 first-round pick of the Dolphins, a third-round pick the following year. Their owner, Steven Adams, I believe that's his name,
Stephen Ross.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Stephen Ross has been suspended until the middle of October and fined $1.5 million. Yesterday, you got Deshaun Watson suspended for 6 games. Also, yesterday, it was announced that Alvin Kamara's court hearing has been pushed back for a couple of months. He's been charged, as we know, back in February, of a felony battery. The evidence against him is overwhelming. He's even admitted of hitting the victim, who ended up in the hospital with multiple injuries, some serious, a fractured eye socket. And yet he's going to be on the field. He's going to be on the field week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons, and the evidence is overwhelming against him. To me, the NFL is so fucked up right now. There's no rhyme or reason in anything that's going on in this league. And I've been watching the NFL since the early 60s, but this shit is wearing on me. Yeah, I'll watch the games. Yeah, I love it. But what the hell is this league doing?
Yeah, which means Kamara can play until they issue the suspension. Yes. Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
So they're pushing that back, and that gives, which means 2 to 3 months hurt. So basically, he's going to play this season. That's kind of what they're saying, right?
Yep.
And with Stephen Ross, what year? The 2023 first rounder? Is that what you said?
Yes. And then a third-round pick the following year, plus suspended until I think the 17th of October, and a $1.5 million fine.
Okay. So, and this comes from the Brian Flores
lawsuit
yes. About the things that are involved with the
draft picks and everything.
Yeah, right. Draft picks and wrongful firing, I guess.
Well, it really, I believe, I haven't read the whole thing, but I believe it comes
offering him money,
$100,000 for a loss. Yes.
And to lose games, to throw games, based. So it's a gambling thing. And through all that, remember, and Calvin Ridley's out a year for a $1,500 bet. Deshaun gets 6 games. So, and will they, I think the next question, Grant, is, since people are going to blame the NFL for the Deshaun Watson thing, but let's not forget they turned it over to a judge. And Judge Robinson has ruled 6 games for Deshaun Watson, and citing that, egregious was the term, yet not violent. So I'm trying to figure out the difference, but where that stands, and said no precedent on this. Yeah, that's a lot. And then somebody, I think it was Albert Breer, had pointed out on Twitter that, if you remember, Zeke Elliott had 1 accuser, 6 games. Ben Roethlisberger ended up being 2, but 1 at the time for his 6, I believe. 6-game suspension that was dropped down to 4, if I'm not mistaken. And now Watson, with what was up to 30, at least, alleged victims and accusers, gets 6 games. And I don't know, guys, you tell me, does the commissioner need to, just for just to show it, they got 72 hours from yesterday, does he need to appeal this?
Hey,
so I guess it appears that they care.
Let me add one other thing. Sorry, gentlemen. The punishment has nothing to do with Brian Flores. It has to do with tampering of Tom Brady. I'm reading the story.
Completely different. I was going to say, the Brian Flores thing hasn't come down. All that stuff is still is it still in the works? Are they still hearing that?
Yes, it is.
This is the Tom Brady tampering.
Tom Brady. Yep. That's what it's. I'm reading a story right now that it's because of tampering with Tom Brady.
So does Brady take any heat for this?
What do you think?
I'd probably not. But I'm just wondering if somebody's tampered.
What was the situation in which the tampering went on? Any indication of that?
Go ahead.
And Grant. By the way, Hosmer in the trade to Washington, but he has to consent.
There you go. Okay. Oh, go there. There you go. So I figured, we talked about on my show this morning, that if you're bringing Bell in with Soto, that probably likely means, because you're trying to move him, that Hosmer is going to be out. Well, if he's part of that trade, then there you go. I was driving. I didn't see that. How many players did they give up? We'll get to. But Grant, back to this situation.
But fuck that. I'm not going to Washington if I'm Hosmer. Why?
Yeah, why?
No
I
trade
don't,
clause. Fuck off.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Hey, well, the NFL players are starting to determine where they go, right?
Yes.
No trade clause. I'll dictate where NBA players. So
Yeah.
why Hosmer can sit there and say, "No, I'm getting paid. That's part of my right that you gave me the no trade clause in this, and let's go at it." So back to the Stephen Ross thing. I don't know how the depth of how many conversations, but it's been talked about. Heck, they may face more than that depending on what goes on. If they felt that they did offer him $100,000, meaning the Brian Flores situation, but that's a hefty fine.
Sure is.
So they found out that tampering obviously did exist.
Oh yeah, they said it was because of impermissible communications with both Tom Brady and his agent in the 2019-20 season. Okay, on two separate occasions. All right.
While he was under contract at that point in time. Let's see, they won the Super Bowl in, was it 2020?
And then the second time was after the 2021 season. So there were two different times that they were tampering as it related to Tom Brady.
Well, hefty fine. Stephen Ross is going through a bit of that right now. And the thing I have, does it
You
take
can't hate them for trying though, huh?
Yeah. Does it take two to tango in this? I don't know. Meaning, do you, if you're Tom Brady or Tampa or New England, wherever I'm trying to get the timeline. This will be his third year in Tampa, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Third year. He went to boom, and then the Super Bowl, which had to be the 2020 season.
It was.
And and then the 20. So right in the height of those things, and they won the Super Bowl, and they won it in Tampa. I wonder if agent or Tom Brady or an agent gets fined something for allowing it to happen, or if it was a one-way street and they didn't respond. I don't know.
Yep.
Don't know.
All right. Well, what are your guys' thoughts on the Deshaun Watson situation in terms of assuming that it is going to stay at 6 games, and I believe it will? I'm just curious, what do you think the noise, I'm going to use the word noise, is going to be with the Cleveland Browns organization from women's groups, protesters, and things of that nature, which we understand is definitely going to be a part of their season? Do you think that's going to affect them at all or not?
Burnsy, go ahead, man.
Look, I think the first thing that comes to mind when we're dealing with this is the Trevor Bauer situation. And here's a guy that gets suspended for 2 years, and here's another one that gets suspended for what would be considered, not even a half of a year. So I'm not necessarily in a position to play judge and jury here because I don't know enough about either one of the situations.
Yep.
But from the optics of things, from an outsider looking in which Deshaun Watson had dozens of these sexual harassment complaints, as opposed to one that obviously I think we got a clear picture of exactly what happened with Bauer. I don't even think there's denial there.
That's
it's just
correct.
a matter of, and it was decided that this was consensual. Right. Whichever, whatever you think about the roughness and everything else.
If it's consensual, it's consensual. I'm with you.
That's what the judge decided.
I know. And you know what? Listen, I'm going to interrupt for a minute. I mean, we can call it deviant sexual behavior. You can call it whatever you want. But if it's two adults consenting to that, and again, I'm saying if, then I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be judge and jury here. But if two adults consent to that type of behavior, I'm okay with it. That's their life. If it's consensual. And yet I'm saying I don't understand how Trevor Bauer can be out of the league like this. It's mind-boggling to me.
If I'm going by the two comparisons, and I'm with Burnsy and Grant, you and I have talked about this in the past too. I have said all along the Watson situation being in Houston, it's been dominated us for a year and a half, right?
Yep.
The talk of it is it's above my pay grade because when it's a he said, she said, and I don't know if it's the right thing, the wrong thing. But had you seen video of Deshaun Watson's situation, then it probably would, judging from because the Judge Robinson said wrong was done. It was egregious, but not violent. So within there, wrong, but not enough to make it basically more than 6 games. I think with the Bauer situation, I understand what you guys are saying, but the vicious violence of it, There's nothing a woman could do that's consensual to tell me that I'm supposed to hit them and beat them or when they're, I mean, whatever that is.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know that situation either. But there comes a point that he'd say, "No, I think I'm going to pass on
I'm
that
good.
part."
I'm good.
Yeah, no thanks.
I'm into some kinky shit.
I mean,
but
yeah,
I
understand,
forgive you if
right.
I'm not going to slug you in the face.
Yeah, but it comes to, I'm not closing a fist and, that sorry to tell you, consensual or not, that's part of consent I ain't taking part of.
Yep.
Okay.
No.
What
Yep.
I'm sure, listen, I'm sure jumping off a bridge for thrill seekers and landing in water's fine too. That's one that's above I'm not interested in that either. Right. So I'm not jumping out of a plane without a parachute. Does that make sense? And if somebody says that, there comes a point in time when having some common sense of, I'm not hurting anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody. Right. So, but again, I'm not behind those closed doors in either one. So while I don't know if I put it this way, how do you compartmentalize? I'll go back to the Watson thing, or if people want to for the Bauer thing, some people aren't going to be able to compartmentalize. Yet I'll tell you what's going to happen, Grant, to answer your question is, like I said, I'm trying to respect a judge has more information about things than I do. And when they give their summation, we put a judicial system in place, whether we agree with it all the time or not, that the NFL empowered and did the Players Association, this woman to make this decision, right? And Judge Robinson made a decision. Now you can appeal because that's part of the process. Whether you do or not remains to be seen. But you talked about the optics. If they don't, I believe you're going to get even more groups saying, well, why don't they care? At least appeal and get turned down, whoever's going to hear the appeal. But with this, here's what happens. And fans, and whether anybody, I'm not telling anybody they should or shouldn't. But I can tell you this, he throws 12 touchdowns in 3 weeks on week 7, 8, 9. They're going to root for him. They're going to cheer for him. And there are some who said that they don't believe he should have been suspended at all, including his camp after this decision was made. But on the other side, you know what? If there's wrongdoing, both sides had to be heard. I don't get to make the judge, jury, or executioner. You can have your moral compass, and I understand it. But he's going to play this year, and he's going to get an ovation. And if he plays well, which he will, he's going to play well. It's going to be up to each individual how you feel about compartmentalizing. But you're damn right there's going to be groups out there that are going to sponsorship something that are going to not like it. Of course.
All right. So you got Calvin Ridley, who bets $1,500 when he's not even playing, gets suspended for a year, and it cost him $11 million. You got Deshaun Watson, who's going to lose 0.14% of his $230 million contract, is not fined a dime, and is suspended 6 games for the allegations involving 24 women, 23 of whom which he has settled a civil suit. Then you got Alvin Kamara, who is currently facing charges of felony battery. The evidence is overwhelming. There's video evidence. The police report, Kamara has admitted in punching the victim, who was hospitalized with a broken eye socket and other injuries, and yet he's going to be on the field for week 1. You understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I don't get the delay in that. If you see it, I'm just trying to figure out what takes this long to do. I understand, since you didn't have any of that with the Watson, he said, she's. I'm not saying I understand why he did it. And you know what? It's not against the law to have 800 massage therapists if that's what you want. What you do behind those closed doors, if what is true, then listen, when a grand jury 2 times, and I'm not, I'm not probably not going to want to hang around the guy off the field, but I'm going to watch his football, right? And you, like I said, the moral compass, but a grand jury in Houston 2 times threw it out of court. And when a grand jury's hearings, the plaintiff gets to present their case. The defendant doesn't get a say. All you're doing is presenting your case to see if it's going to move forward. And so even without even defending this, first of all, Deshaun should probably pay Rusty Hardin 10 times more than he's going to pay him, which is going to be a lot anyway. Because Rusty Hardin, well, they did, and Tony, but they did what they're supposed to do as attorneys, represent their clients to the best of their ability. And they're both Busby for the females, the women, and Rusty Hardin. So for me, they threw that out. So that had to come into play. But we still don't know the he said, she said. And you mentioned the Kamara thing. You see it. It's on there.
Yeah, that's
right. So I don't know. I understand you got to do your due diligence, but how long does it take? And the Bauer thing had been going on a while. At what point do you have some common sense if you're him, even though we're not there? So all this stuff leads to, it's gut-wrenching to talk about. But Grant, and you're right, Camaro's going to be lined up in that uniform, and he's one hell of a player too. So we'll see, but I don't know what the holdup is. But I guess that's part of the judicial thing that goes on, that the holdup. But if you wanted visual, like you said, a police report is sitting right there when a guy admits it.
Right.
But then again, there's due diligence to be done. It's a lot of this is just weird and odd.
Yeah.
But Deshaun's going to lose $300,000+ is it, of $230 million, and he got paid $11 million. And I want to make one last thing clear. Could we stop? I heard on watching television yesterday on one of those morning shows during my show during a break, and one of the announcers said, who I like, it was Fred Taylor, who I'm a big Fred Taylor fan. I've liked Fred forever. Great University of, played at Jacksonville, hell of a player and a good dude. But he said, well, Deshaun, after he went through it, I said, well, he's really suspended for 23 games because he was suspended for 17 in 2021. No, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
He was never put on the commissioner's exempt list.
No.
He wasn't suspended again, got his full pay.
Yep.
Deshaun has won it, other than the PR game, he's won it at every stop during this. He's gotten paid. He got out of Houston. He got to where he wanted to go. He got a new contract, all of it guaranteed. He's won, I'm talking about in the career world, in the financial world, he's won at every stop. So I don't want to hear people say, well, he got 17 games. No, he wasn't going to play here. Houston then decided not to play him. If they'd had 10 quarterbacks hurt last year, he wasn't playing.
Yep.
But he wasn't suspended. He got his full salary, and he wasn't on a commissioner's exempt list. So whether you like the 6 games or not, it's one thing. But don't give me 23 games because he was not suspended last year. That's bullshit. Complete bullshit.
So here's the deal, though. Him not playing last year, do you think they took that into account?
Human nature, maybe. Just like they took into account. Listen, another thing, they didn't hear all 20-something of these. They heard originally 5. 1 got thrown out, 4 of them. Judge Robinson went through 4 of these. She didn't go through 24 of them. 4.
Correct.
So the question you have to ask yourself, were the other ones not important? Or is that a disrespect to the other ones that say, wait a minute, well, why is mine not as important? Or is it that they didn't have any validity that they felt and the NFL said, here's the 4 best that we have to present to you? Or was it time? I would imagine the grand jury came into point. And a lot of people going into this, I heard it mentioned, Burnsy, that as a female, will she take into account female to female understanding the women's plight and what they went through or allegedly went through? And she was what she was supposed to be, an impartial, person that's not that looks at the case and the evidence presented and makes a decision. You don't have to like it, but she's a judge that I try to give respect to. If I was the NFL, I would appeal. Even if it's just for your damn optics alone, for your sponsors or for whatever it is. And if you care about women, but then again, if there's not enough evidence, we have no 2 feet to stand on for Deshaun because I won't know. And like I said, I wouldn't want to be the judge to make a decision on this. But Burnsy, maybe I guess human nature does kick in that you say, well, does this have anything to do with it? I would imagine everything has something to do with it. Something.
So this isn't on Goodell, though.
It can't be. Now, you can take the past when he's been that guy, which he should have never been in the first place when he took over as commissioner. Yeah. But they turned it over. Now, what is on him? I
do like them turning it over, though.
Turned it over,
right?
Now
somebody who is a
right.
professional.
That's exactly a judge that you've empowered and trusted to make a decision based on evidence. But where he does come in, Burnsy, is now. He's got 2 days now, 3 days from yesterday, to decide in writing if he wants to appeal. That's where the heat now falls back on him. Is he going to appeal or is he going to say 6 games is enough? And what's that going to say to the NFL or to the people and sponsors and fans around?
Burnsy, were
you got to appeal, don't you? If you're Goodell?
Even if it gets thrown out, you don't have to, but I would say most think he should. But just for, like I said, even if it's
just for the optics, man.
Right.
Even if it doesn't work, like the
exactly
optics,
right.
I
because people are going to say don't appeal. Right. If you don't appeal, the first thing people are going to say is you are 100% in agreement that the judge, either that you respect the judge and judicial system, I get it, or that you also think that 6 games was enough. So you're right, Burnsy. Probably optics-wise, you probably need to, and then let's let another. I don't know who else makes the next decision. Is it another judge? I don't even know who hears the next one. And
it's a joke.
There you go.
Hey, Burnsy, we'll wrap this up. this past weekend, Will Clark, that retirement of the jersey was so epic, so unfreaking believable. We love the show that you do with him every week, Deuce is Wild. But how awesome was that, man?
Dude, I was talking about it this morning on the Daily Hustle, guys, and it was one of those things that, like, I think sometimes in life we get to experience something that you have high expectations for, and you're like, man, will this ever really meet my expectations? And this entire weekend, like, blew whatever expectations I had out of the water. To be there, to be able to hang around, obviously Will, but then guys like Boogie Bear, Kevin Mitchell, Hackman, Jeffrey Leonard, Robbie Thompson, Dave Dravecki, Larry Bear, Rob Dean, old buddy, like the ownership, like just the way the Giants did it. That is a first-class organization, and I'll tell you what, man. Like, from top on down, I have so much respect with the way they handled the entire situation and the family, and just, to see Bruce Bochy and have him on the field. But I think everything was captured in the opening scene of the video. If you haven't seen it, I put it, I believe, on my Instagram, where basically there's a kid in a bedroom, and to the left there's a Powell Peralta skateboard with Santa Cruz trucks, I imagine, and then there's a poster of Will Clark, and he's wearing the Will jersey, and there's a antenna TV, and underneath that is a game of Sorry, a board game. To the right is a Nintendo console with the ones that have to blow to get in there and jam it, double thing to go play Super Tecmo Bowl. And there's the Lamborghini picture with the doors up, and you got to imagine a Christy Brinkley or Cindy Crawford calendar in there somewhere. The nostalgia that brought back that feeling, that simpler time, we like to say, like, that was, I think, what got me. And then to have Thrill out there on the field with that same passion, that same energy, that same effort that he played with for all those years, that endeared the entire San Francisco Bay Area and beyond, well beyond. Because I've run into people. Sean Casey's on MLB Network right now. That was Sean Casey's favorite player. He tried to mimic his swing. And Case, I love you, but it wasn't close. I mean, it was the most beautiful swing you ever seen. But it was that passion. It was that And so when he had that line, he spent, and this is what no one realizes because they'll just see the last line. And, you might think, arrogant's not the right word. Obviously, this is your moment. This time in the sun. He spent, say the speech was 15 minutes. He spent the first 13 minutes thanking everybody, one by one, by one, by one. And then he did drop it was no filter shiny moment. He did drop Byrnesy, and I'm having a blast doing our No Filter podcast. It was a bone-chilling moment. Yeah. But then when he finished with, I am Will the Thrill Clark. I am a part of San Francisco, and I am forever a Giant. Like, the only thing he was missing, I'm forever a fucking Giant. And then just bro, chills through my body once again, like tears coming down my eyes. He talked about the participation trophies. He's like, look, I grew up in an era back when you had to earn it. There wasn't anything given. He said, before the participation trophies, this and that. He said, where I grew up, we loved to compete. My brother Scott and I, we competed. My dad taught us how to compete. That's what we did. Like, it was the best, quite frankly. Yeah. And I've heard a lot of speeches. It was the best Hall of Fame / number retirement speech that I've ever heard. And I agree. I'm biased. I was on the field for it. I was a part of it, but it was the best, hands down.
What a great swing, great player. Not that this matters, but I was at Mississippi State about a month ago at football camp, and I was just watching their baseball stadium. I go back and think about he and Palmeiro, obviously, and then and remember who else was on that team that was actually was a great hitter before he became a 50-game closing save guy.
Yeah,
Bobby Thigpen.
Thigpen. Jeff Brantley was on that team.
Yes,
Brantley was on that team too.
That's exact. So they were friggin' loaded, right?
Loaded.
Will Clark was a joy to watch.
Yep.
Just energy, a joy
Yep.
to watch. And you're right, Burnsy. Man, that'd get you. That's enough to make you want to make a comeback just for a second with Will the Thrill. So congratulations. Not only the show is fantastic, but to a fantastic career-long monster hitter. Now you think about Mays and McCovey and all the great guys and names who have been down the same road I know it's a different locker room, but it's still the same clubhouse when it comes to it's Giants. Phenomenal for him to have been able to do that.
Wait, guys, one stat real quick that I was just harping on in all the radio shows and TV interviews and stuff that I did last week. And a stat that I think is, of all the modern day stats, I think it's fucking awesome. It's wins probability added. And essentially they take into account not only like your hits and your on base percentage and everything, but when they happen. So you're going to get more points basically for a close and late 7th inning, or later type of thing. So it shows you how impactful that player actually was. Will Clark is 56 on that list, right behind Ken Griffey Jr. and right above Rod Carew.
Wow.
That's how good he was. So when
that's
it comes to
amazing.
him,
that's a hell of a team picture to be in that group.
Oh boy,
seriously,
hell of a team.
Yeah,
picture.
It's number 1 on that list, by the way. Barry Bonds. Number 2, Babe Ruth. So that's a special group, and I'm not coming off thrill. I'm not coming off thrill for getting in the Hall of Fame. It's gonna have to go through the Veterans Committee. I get it, but that's a fucking Hall of Famer, man. It is.
What a player! What a friggin' player! Great stuff.
Hey, Burnsy, real quickly before I let you go, when you were in school and you were in class, could you fucking sit still for more than 2 minutes, or were you always fucking moving around?
I could sit down, but I got a spinning chair, and I'm like, dude, if I'm gonna get here, hopefully it's. I know people are going home at crazy. I just like this time of day, if I'm up and moving, like if you guys want to catch me late sitting down, I'll meet you on the couch at like 7 o'clock when I pour my first tequila and I sit down. I got the ball game on. I'll have my iPad up. I said I'll be clicking through the games, checking in on my bets. Like but until between now and 7 o'clock, it ain't fucking happening, boys.
You know what I teach my quarterbacks to do, Grant, to validate what you're saying? Yeah. I teach my quarterbacks, I say, listen, have a violent, really explosive lower half when you throw like a hitter. I say, but I need have a quiet upper body, right? Not loud, quiet. Try fucking that with this guy right now, walking around his living room all over the place.
Well, you know what's great? Watch this. This gets better, though. See, I'm doing you a favor standing for the camera. I could come all the way out here and still have the same connection. So I think I'll just start doing this. Get back and forth right here next time. Volume, everything's still the same, man. Yeah. This headset's magic.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Master Debaters Where's Waldo show. There you go.
Hey, boys, on that note, we'll see you on Thursday, same time, man. Great show today.
Thanks, fellas. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome, dudes.
Thanks, guys.
John Salisbury, Eric Byrnes, Grant Napier. We'll talk to you on